I mean, don't get me wrong. I like a good Western as much as the next guy, but call me crazy, but I watch Batman the Animated Series to see Batman. We're talking about Showdown right now. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. So glad to see you once again. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. If you're like me and grew up on Batman the Animated Series and became a huge Batman fan today, then I hope you'll stick around because this show is for you. Hit subscribe. We've got a lot of great content. Coming your way, like today's episode, Showdown, which originally aired on September 12th, 1995. Another peculiar addition to Season 4, where we go all the way back to the Old West and follow Jonah Hex and Ras Al Ghul. It's just such a difference from the Batman the Animated Series that we're accustomed to. But we'll get into all of that right after our 60-second Joker Bomb rundown of the episode. Let's see if I can do it. We start off in a nursing home where some black-suited Spider-Men are gassing the facility, and Ras Al Ghul shows up, takes someone, leaves a tape behind for Batman and Robin to find. They listen to the tape, and it is Ras Al Ghul telling the story about the Old West when Jonah Hex came to town looking for Malcolm McDowell, and he finds him finally, and he goes to where he's building this airship with Ras Al Ghul, and they go up in the airship. Jonah Hex fights him, but they all get away, and Duvall, Malcolm McDowell, gets away, and then we're present day, and Batman and Robin show up at the airport where Ras Al Ghul's getting away with this old man who is the Malcolm McDowell Duvall character, and not only is he still alive because of Lazarus Pit, but he's also Ras Al Ghul's son, and they let him go away. That's it.
Too easy.
Now, before we get started, in my last episode, The Terrible Trio, I mentioned how it was the first episode of the fourth season, and there seemed to be some confusion in the comments, and people were saying that that was still part of the third season. But just to set the record straight is that I'm going by the Internet Movie Database in their airing order of the episodes. The fourth season is the last 5 episodes that aired in 5 consecutive days in September 1995, which I know is really odd for a season to be 5 days long. But a friend of ours in the comment, XX Silent Treatment XX, shed some light on this, that they remember specifically Fox advertising that there would be 5 brand new episodes airing for the week. My assumption is that the show technically ended after 3 seasons. And because of the popularity of the reruns, as XX Silent Treatment XX mentioned, they were really tired of seeing all the reruns like all of us and was excited to see that there was going to be 5 new episodes. But in either case, this is, according to IMDb, this is considered the 4th season. I know the confusion is that a lot of people are going by the DVD volumes, which is the production order of the episodes. And these 5 episodes are included on the third volume, which a lot of people consider that the 3rd season, but that's the order that they produced them. And the 4th volume of the DVDs are the New Adventures of Batman, which is, again, according to IMDb, is a whole different series. And that came at least 2 years, maybe 3 years after these 5 episodes. So I know it's confusing, and really there's no right or wrong way to look at it. But for me, I just align myself with IMDb. Not that they're always 100% correct, but just so I had some consistency in the order of episodes that I was be releasing. But enough about that. Today we're talking about Showdown.
5 minutes and you ain't killed nobody nor set nothing on fire. Slipping, ain't you?
And this episode is a prime example of why I say I think that the writers were moving on from this, or at the very least just interested in writing different things, because this episode was really hard to even call a Batman episode.
I anticipated meeting you tonight, Detective.
I know in Batgirl's Return, we talked about how Batman was kind of written out of the episode, and it really focused on Batgirl, but that's still the Batman family. This is about Jonah Hex, who's a completely separate character in the DC universe, and it was very much like they were writing a Jonah Hex episode.
Water, ma'am, in a clean glass.
And it's kind of interesting because it kind of ties into what they do in the future with Justice League.
I can still shoot a fly out from between its wings. Provided the light's right, of course. And it's a big, plump fly.
And initially going into this episode, I thought, man, maybe this was an an attempt at another spin-off. Maybe they were seeing the writing on the wall that Batman the Animated Series was basically over, and this was a bit of a test or a pilot for a Jonah Hex series. But even if you take the Batman bookends off of this and just look at it as a Jonah Hex episode or show, it's not that good.
Sounds like he likes to sleep on the ground with the rest of the snakes.
He ain't the type. More the clean sheet sort.
The big glaring problem I had with this episode was the dialogue was really cartoony, I guess, for lack of a better term. And I know it is a cartoon, but it was kind of just an overdone kind of caricature of Wild West dialogue.
Got a feeling things might get loud and busy soon.
It was almost like it was poking fun at itself, which is something that the animated series never did.
Good luck, Jonah Hex.
Right nice sentiment, ma'am. But I never cotton much to luck. I like to make my own.
There's no real good way to do this, but I think that this episode would have benefited if they found a way to put Batman into this story. And like I said, there's no good way to do that. They could pull the MacGyver where he gets knocked out and imagines he's back in the Old West. Or in MacGyver's case, it was the medieval times.
Well, my name's MacGyver, and
It's not a great solution, but it would have been interesting to do kind of an Elseworld story like they did with Gotham by Gaslight of putting Batman into a Western setting. I don't know. There's no good way to do that. So they just kind of did it as a flashback. Ras Al Ghul literally leaves them a tape and tells them this story.
The story I have to tell you may cause you to reconsider your pursuit. The year was 1883. Your government was ruthlessly expanding westward.
And then there's not a real good kind of bookends to this story either. Ras Al Ghul comes in, kidnaps this guy from a nursing home, and is taking him away. I mean, it's kidnapping, but is it really a case worthy of Batman and Robin to come in and solve?
I'm not sure.
And then when they finally catch up with him, and then they just kind of throw in this extra layer that...
What father can ever forget his son?
What? Where did this come from? Why? I don't... It doesn't even make sense why this story existed. That as far as I can remember, this never comes up again, and I don't know of this in the comic books. What is the significance of this guy being his son? Why are we doing that? Again, I know they had to come up with something because they wanted to tell this Jonah Hex story, but the Jonah Hex story wasn't even that good that needed to be told. I don't know.
We will cross swords another day. But for now, let me take my boy home.
I will say the best part about this episode, other than being the inspiration for Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West.
I mean, one, yes, I'm a big fan of Westerns, and I enjoy a good Western like most kids my age then. Especially when they incorporate kind of that steampunk futuristic technology into a Western. I like that a lot. And this episode obviously has a lot of that. But truly, the best part is the sword fight between Jonah Hex and Duvall on an airship over the canyons in the Wild West.
I'll chop you to pieces.
When it comes time to rank this episode, it feels so far removed from the other Batman the Animated Series episodes, I almost don't even want to count it against the rest of the list. But it's part of the season, it's part of the series, so I need to fit it in there somewhere. And I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone out there that it falls kind of far down on my list. My problem with it is not that it is a Western, is that it's a poorly done Western. And the bookends in Gotham City with Batman aren't that great of a story either. So for all those reasons, it falls at the number 70 spot of my favorite episodes so far. Just below Paging the Crime Doctor, because that at least has a concise story and incorporates mobsters, which is a very Gotham City film noir kind of element to it. But it does beat out The Underdwellers, because that one had a lot of problems with it, and also including the writing of dialogue in that. But this motif of kind of the steampunk Western elements of it just kind of squeak that above The Underdwellers.
My heart's sort of flutter.
So here we have a Batman the Animated Series episode with Jonah Hex. So all bets are off. Who's another DC character that you wish they would have incorporated into the Batman series, and I know that we see a lot of them in Justice League, but specifically into Batman the Animated Series, who's another DC character that you think would have worked better in the series? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the thumbs up button. If you want to see more of this type of content, then just hit subscribe. I have new episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday, at least for another week. This Thursday, I have another episode reviewing Batman the Animated Series with Catwalk, so you don't want to miss that. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode. I'll see you soon.